Hey everyone, today I'm looking at Civilization 6 in this beginner's guide. Now you're probably thinking, Civilization 6 that's been out for ages, but it's still the absolute boss of strategy games, and if you've never played it before you really should. If you have a little look on CD Keys you can pick up the Super Duper collection, the anthology, for around about £16, which is an absolute steal. So have a little look in my description if you're interested in that. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a beginner's guide. It's going to be about sort of 30-40 minutes depending on how we go. And I am aware that there is a tutorial and it's pretty solid, so I do recommend you have a little look at that. But Civilization 6 is a game you can play for hundreds of hours, okay? So you want to be investing a bit of time in it, but you will feel a little bit confused when you've gone through this because it really only skims over the basics. And there's some things that I think are useful to know when you start out. So the problem coming to Civilization 6 now is there are so many expansions that have been added over the years since I think it was 2016 when it came out. We're obviously now 2024, so quite a long time. Civ 7 we hope will appear at some point, but probably not this year, probably next year. But the problem is if you're coming to the game now, fresh, you're going to struggle figuring out what on earth to look at first. So what we're going to look at is a single player, and I'm going to walk you through some of the settings that are going to help you out and help you understand what you're doing in the game. So let's do that. Single player. And what I want to look at is this, create game. So you can play now and it'll throw you straight into something, the scenarios. But we want to start with create game, and I'll show you exactly why that is. So when you start with the create game here, it automatically puts it on the expansion Gathering Storm, which is the most sort of full experience of Civilization 6. What I recommend you do though, so you can see it says here, this includes the World Congress, environmental effects, disasters, power and more, and you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm a newbie, man. So for a beginner, I would say, standard rules. Okay, so this is going to go to the most simple game that we can do. So it then starts saying about all these things here, random leaders, prints, game, speed, and all this. And I'm going to confuse you, but you're gonna like this. Click on advanced setup, and there's a very good reason for this. So you're probably going, oh my goodness, there's now even more things here. But don't worry, what I want to point out is a couple of things here. So the reason why I'm putting it on here is to help you figure out certain things that you may find very annoying as a beginner that you can actually turn off in an advanced setup. So game difficulty, I suggest you drop this down a little bit. Just go on something nice and simple to begin with, either settler or chieftain, just so you can get used to the controls. The start era, ancient era. But Civ does take hours and hours to play, so I suggest you speed the game speed up. So go on quick, I would suggest. You can go online, which is super duper speed, but I would say quick. It gives you a nice experience. Now, there's a thing in the game called city-states, which are kind of like little independent cities. I find them quite annoying. So the point with the advanced setup is you can turn these off. So what I've always loved doing in Civilization is achieving a domination victory where you basically just destroy every other civilization or take them over. And the trouble with city-states is that's even more people you've got to sort out and take over. So to begin with, I would turn that off so you don't need to worry about the mechanic of city-states. The map, if we look at that, you've got different styles of map here. So I quite like continents, works fine. But if you don't want to be sailing off all over the place, you could go for a bigger map where everything is largely on the same map if you wish, or a four-leaf clover. That's entirely up to you. But for this beginner's guide, I'm going to go with the continents one because that gives us quite a good area. Now you can see we've got all these leaders here. So the idea is you're going to be a leader, and then you're going to be put up against other leaders in the game. So if we have a little look at the leaders first, these are all the different people here. And each one of these has a benefit. So you can see, for example, Abraham Lincoln, industrial zones give 2 amenities, receive a free melee unit after constructing industrial zones and their buildings. The trouble is when you start, you're like, I don't know what any of this is. You can see they've got unique units and all this sort of stuff. So what I suggest you do is just go with Alexander. And the reason for this is cities do not incur war weariness. All military units heal completely when this player captures a city with a world wonder. And you get some other things here, special units and this stuff. So I suggest you go with him because if we're looking at a particular way of winning, Alexander's a good solid choice here. But there are loads of leaders here. They've all got different things, and this is one of the nice things about Civilization 6 and why people play it for hundreds and hundreds of hours. You can go through with any other leader and get a completely different experience and focus on a different objective. So let's go with Alexander though. Now you can see here we've got all these other random leaders. You can pick other ones if you want. You can get rid of leaders. So it's entirely up to you. But the other thing I suggest you do is change the map size, because small is still pretty big. So I suggest you go with tiny. This will give you a good experience. You're going to go up against 3 other random leaders. Tiny will give you about enough space for each of these. You could add ones or delete ones, but I'm going to go with that. And then you can, obviously pick leaders if you want to go up against particular ones. But all this other stuff here, I would say leave that on standard. But if we come down here, the victory conditions. So the idea with Civilization 6 is that you are working towards winning the game in a variety of different ways. You could go for a culture victory, a domination victory, religious victory, science victory, or score victory. And these have different ways of playing the game. So culture is about making your city all wonderful, and people look at your civilization and think, wow, I want to be part of that civilization because they're amazing. You're not bothered about attacking people and stuff like that. You just want to convince people to join your nation. You got domination, where you win through military strength and prowess. So you're just going to kick the heck out of every other leader, and this is my favourite one. I love being a bit of a warmonger in Civilization 6. You got the religious victory, where you do the same sort of thing as culture but with religion, so you can spread that one. So same sort of thing with science, or you could just go for a general score. So these are the different ones you've got. But what I suggest you do when you're beginning out is just focus on one of these and don't worry too much about the others. So you can turn them all off and make sure that the only way is someone can win is with domination victory. So that's the one I would suggest. But if you're interested in one of the others, by all means, or you can keep them all on. The reason why I say turn them off is even if you're focused on domination, it can be really annoying if there's another rival leader who's working towards science and they win before you've had a chance to kick their butt. So personally, I would just say, do you know what? Let's just focus on that. You've then got limit turns by game speed and all this sort of stuff. There is an important thing here. When you start out as a beginner, I find barbarians incredibly annoying. So they are basically a random aggressive units that will appear on the map, and particularly when you're starting out, they can be very annoying because they can multiply very fast and start giving your units a good kicking even though you've only just started the game. So I would suggest turning those off until you're happier with how the game works. Then you've got very little threat coming at you apart from other leaders, and I think that's absolutely fine because they're starting at a similar speed to you. Whereas barbarians, you can see they can just appear all over the place and be really annoying. Now if you want to play with this setup again and again, you can save the configuration, but in my case I'm just going to start the game and we'll have a little look and see what we think. So when this starts, we'll have a bit of waffle from Sean Bean. I'm a big fan of Sean Bean, so I'm quite happy to listen to his soothing tones.
Listen. Of life beneath water, to the great beasts of the Stone Age, to man taking his first upright steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. From this early cradle of civilization on towards the stars.
So as you play
Great Warlord Alexander.
Shush, Sean, shush. So I'm just going to click Begin Game, because we don't want to hear Sean waffle for too long. So, whenever a game is created, you come into a randomly generated map, which is what we've got here. So I can zoom in and out with my mouse wheel, and I've got 2 units that I start the game with. I have a warrior, so if we click on them with the left mouse button, we can see them there, and I have a settler. Now a settler is where you can basically use them to build a city, and this is critical in civilization. You need to build, funny enough, a civilization, and for that you need to have a home for your units to settle in. And as we look on this, particularly when we first started out, you will get the odd advice from the game. So it says here, look, this is a good little area here. We've got lots of resources around us. It's close to a friendly site. Everything is good. We're all happy with that. There's also this here, which is some resources. So later on, when we discover irrigation, we can get some benefit here. And there's also some silver over here. So it's not a bad place to start, but it's suggesting over here. Now, one of the things I found very confusing when I started out with Civilization is, well, how do I know which of these is good? So you hover over them, you can't see much. But what you can do is one of these, let me see, which one is it? I think is it that one? There you go. So the map options down the bottom left, turn on yield icons. And this shows you the yields that you've got in areas. So this one here, there doesn't seem to be anything too exciting in that area. Whereas over here, we've got a little bit. We've got 1 food, 1 gold, production science. So this one, wherever the advisor says go, it's hard to see exactly what's in that area, which I find a bit confusing sometimes. So it looks like there's a food under, but I can't see exactly what. But the advisor is suggesting there would work fine. So you may find your core area for your city is not great, but you will have one worker and they will work one of these other tiles. So this tile here will get 2 food, for example, and help your city grow. So this is all right, but it's not amazing. But for the point of this tutorial, I'm just going to go with what the advisor says. So we select our settler, and then we right-click over here to move the settler over. So one of the things that will help a city is if there's fresh water nearby, and you can see that here. It's saying, yeah, this is all right. We're not too bad here. So you can see what we've got in this area is 2 food. So that's okay. We've got no sort of production thing, so we've got a slight downside there. 2 food, 1 production here. But I'm going to go with this one and just trust that my advisor has some vague idea what's going on. So we've found the city here, and this will build a city for us. So we have Pella here is the city. Now at this point, it's entirely up to you, because your city is undefended, but because I've turned barbarians off, hopefully we won't get attacked for a while anyway. So I could use my warrior to explore around, or if you're worried and you've turned barbarians on, you could go and pop your warrior in the city to defend it. What I'm going to do is just to keep this a bit more interesting, is use my warrior to explore a little bit around the area. So I'm right clicking to move the warrior to a different place. So Pella itself, what we can now start thinking about is how to use this. And with these map options, we can hide this stuff here. So I'll turn the yield icons off for the minute, and I'll just fold this down by clicking this again. So you can see if I zoom out, we know nothing about the rest of the region. And that's why exploring is important. And you can explore by using a particular unit. If I click and hold on the map, I can also move or click and drag, or whatever you want to call it, with the left mouse button. So Pella here, if I select it, I can see a bit about it, and it says nothing's being produced. So here down the bottom right hand side, it'll tell you, look, there's something to do. So I need to choose production. So it's up to you what you make in your city. But to begin with, you've got very limited choices, because we need to learn how to construct other things. So we need to choose research and all sorts of stuff that we're going to get through here. So we need to decide what to build next, and the advisor here gives you some recommendations. So you can say, look, you go for a scout. So this is a recon unit, fast-moving ancient era recon unit. And then we've got the slinger here. Now each of these things costs production. So you can see down the bottom there it says production. And if we look at our city, what we'll see is if we go and have a little look at the workers here, managed citizens, we can see where our citizen is currently working. So they're currently working here with 1 food, 1 production, and 2 gold. I can move them elsewhere, so if I'm not so bothered about the gold, I could move them over here. So we could see what would happen if I moved that person over here. And you can see this, importantly, says 5 turns until growth. So I'm not going to earn gold, but I'm not actually that bothered. I'd rather have a bit more food. So I'm going to go with that and a little bit of production. So we're going to go with that. And then on the production side, I'm going to build the scout. So I've selected that, so that's going to take 5 turns. And this is the way Civ works. So it'll then say, what's next? So down here, choose research. So I'm going to click that. And I can either fast access research here, or we can open the technology tree. So the technology tree shows how your civilization is going to develop over the course of history, and you can choose what you learn from this point. So you can go with anything on here, and each of these things has a benefit. So pottery will take 16 science to basically achieve, which is going to take me 6 turns. And you can see it says allows harvesting of bonus resources improved by farms, and it also unlocks the building granary. So that's normally quite a good core thing to do. So I'm going to start working on pottery. So that's done. And then I'll cross this out. And then we will continue with our next turn. So everything's good at the minute. We're researching the code of laws, which I could change. So there's 2 different areas. We've got the sort of research here for kind of science stuff. And we've also got our civics stuff here. You can access these here. So there's the tech tree that we were just looking at. This is the civics tree. But the first one you need is the code of laws, which unlocks the ability to have some of these basic things for your government. But we've also got great people here, which won't happen for a while. Don't worry about that for the minute. So we'll do next turn. And you can see our warrior here is now able to move further. So we'll just keep exploring. The downside with using the warrior over a scout is the warrior can only move at one per per turn. Sorry, so they take a while to explore. So we'll go next again. The upside with the warrior though is they're quite strong. You can see they've got a melee strength of 20. So if we come across an enemy, we'd be able to take them on. So we'll go over here. And what we're looking for is other resources in the area, another place where we may want to settle once Pella has grown to a little bit bigger. So nothing much to do at the minute because we're still researching this pottery. We're also building that scout. And all we can really do is move around with our warrior and see stuff. Now this is an area that we can actually get a little bonus from. So this tribal village, you can go and explore with people. So we're going to move our warrior to there and see what we get. So we'll go next turn. Go again. So there's lots of resources around here, rice. And some of these things will give bonuses. Certain resources are important for building specific units. So for example, if you wanted to build horse units, you know, like cavalry or something like that, you will need access to horses. But we've got no horses at the minute. But we do have rice, which would be a food bonus. So we'll go here and go next turn. And you can see now we've actually built a scout. And the scout has a melee strength of 10. But more importantly, they're able to move much faster than the warrior that we've got. They can move a movement of 3. So I'm going to move those out. And then Pella needs to be building something new now. So I'll select the production again. And it's suggesting, look, you know, you could go for a settler now. And once you've got at least 2 people in the city, that's an option. That's going to take 10 turns. It's going to take 53 production. But that's probably a good idea. Now, if we had barbarians on, I'd be more inclined to build myself a defensive unit or another warrior just to protect my city. But I'm going to go with a settler like it recommends because I think that would be quite good to have. So we'll go here. We've produced a great work, so this is random.
Clay and then left it, as if there would be bricks by chance and fortune.
So you'll often get lots of little quotes from Sean as you go through this, which is nice. We'll cross that out. We can see here we've found this tooth of the prophet, which is from that little village that we found. So we've got this, so that's quite cool. Now we need to choose another research, so we'll open the technology tree. And because we did this first one, this pottery, we have access to these ones now. So certain ones will build over to other areas here. So it's entirely up to you how you develop this and how you develop your civilization. But, you know, if you're interested in going to one of these, you can do. Or you could say, do you know what, I want some of these core things. So this one, for example, would allow harvesting of cattle, sheep and deer. I can have an improvement camp and pasture. This one would allow chopping of woods and harvesting of copper, improvement mine and quarry. And you can see this one, the mining, will move on to getting bronze work in, so I can have certain benefits here like spearmen or the wheel, where I could have heavy chariot. So what I'm going to do here is just work on mining next, so I can unlock these as well. So that's one of the things that keeps Civilization 6 interesting, that, you know, you're quite free to develop your civilization however you see fit. So we'll keep moving down this way and see what we can discover with the warrior. But you'll see now that the scout will be able to move much faster. So we'll go next turn. And keep going. Where I've turned off the barbarians, though, there is an argument for having them on, in that if your units take them on and fight them, you will build up some experience points. So there is a downside to turning barbarians off. But I think for your first game, it's just nice to be able to explore relatively safely and move your settlers around without getting in much sort of worry of being attacked. So the warrior here. So here is another person. I can't remember whether I turned city-states off or not. I might have left them on. We'll see. I thought I turned them off, but we'll see whether that's someone else or not. So this is really, really cool. This is what I was looking for, which is horses. So for me to be able to create mounted units, we're going to need access to horses. So this is a really important area that we've discovered, which is why you want to be exploring around. So we'll go next one again. So a unit needs orders, which is probably our warrior. So let's have a little look at this. So maybe I left city-states on, I can't remember. These are city-states. I thought I turned them off, but maybe I said I left them on. So these are people that you can use. You can either take them over, or each one will have a benefit. So you can see having one envoy, which is automatically done when you basically discover someone, you'll get a bonus in your capital for one culture and in every amphitheatre building. So certain ones, if you leave them alone but you keep friendly relations, you get a boost to your your own civilization, but you can attack them if you wish. Well, I'll leave them well alone and we'll just keep exploring this way. And we'll keep exploring up here with our... but that'll be the next turn. So one of the things you probably saw...
Man is the noblest of all animals.
He is.
Separated from law and justice, he is the worst.
So you get some nice sort of quotes from all sorts of famous people as we play the game, which is quite fun. One of the things I was going to say is you can kind of, rather than move them sort of each turn, if you rather, you can right click further away and then you can see where that's going to go. So I've said, look, for the next 2 turns I can't be bothered to click each time, you just move that automatically. That's slightly dangerous sometimes, but if you're just going to explore a region, that might work quite well. And we could do the same with the scout, but sometimes you might want to see what's coming up. So we can see here, if I'd have gone, say, move that way, I would have missed this village, but I'm going to move here and get that village on the next one instead. So now I can choose a civic. So this is the civics tree that we were looking at a little bit before. We've now discovered the code of laws, which is the first one. But now I've got a choice. Which way do I want to go? Do I want to focus more on craftsmanship and go towards military tradition? Or do I want to go to foreign trade? And do I want to go this way? So one might be more geared towards, trading. One's more towards military. So I'm going to go with the craftsmanship because that's what I was interested in, that domination side of things. But you get the idea here. So that's all good. Now we get the option to work with our government. So the most basic government that you have when you start is the chieftain. And this allows you to have 1 military policy, 1 economic policy. And these are basically additional bonuses that you can have as you play the game. So that you can drag 1 red one into here and 1 gold colour one here. So we can go with whatever one we think is good. So I'm going to go with urban planning, which will give me 1 production in all cities. And then I can have either this, unit combat strength when fighting barbarians. I turn them off, so that's useless to me. So I'll go with double experience for recon units. So we'll go with that one and confirm the policies. Obviously, that government is pretty simple at the minute. As you go through the game, you research more stuff, get access to more advanced governments. You're going to have more options there. So we'll go to the next turn. And we'll see if I just leave this unit here, that's where they'll go automatically. But I'm going to right click and just discover that. So I've got 26 gold from that village. So what you get is random from each of these villages. So we've got this thing here that's popped up. You need to select a pantheon for your people. Choosing a pantheon, so we can have all of these different things here. You can basically get a bonus, and you want to be thinking about what makes sense for your civilization or what you're interested in. I'm going to go with God of the Forge, 25% production towards ancient and classical military units. So I found this. So there we go. We're working towards that religion, so we're good. Worship of your pantheon of gods has brought up further questions about spiritual forces in our world. Your progress towards mysticism has advanced considerably. So your choices affect other choices in the game. So we'll go with that. The next turn.
Who deserves more credit than the wife of a coal miner?
So again, you can see we're going quite similar here. So we'll open the technology tree. We've got the access to mining, and this is where we can start thinking about something else that might be of interest. So we could have access to this, the heavy chariot, or we could go with the bronze working, and that would give us access to these like spearmen and stuff like this. So the further up the tree it is, the more time it will take to research that. So although I've got the core thing here, because I've not discovered these things, it's saying, look, this is going to take more science points. So you can see 53 science points. This one only 16 science. So I'm going to go back and do animal husbandry as well. I just want those core things done, so I've got more options moving forward. So a unit needs orders. So we've got our little explorer here, our little scout, and we'll just keep moving them around. So you can see the scout's quite interesting for that. But things are still fairly tame because we haven't got that second settler yet to build the next city. So we'll move our warrior this way. Hello, Kublai. Or is it Kublai? I don't know. Kublai, I think. It's an honor to meet you. You're welcome to, treat each civilization how you wish. But to begin with, I'd suggest just keeping it nice and cordial. So they will say, I've arranged a wrestling match between our 2 strongest warriors. Come and drink fermented mare's milk with me. We would love to sample your hospitality. So we'll go with that one. So after meeting another civilization, you see the need for new ways to communicate. Your knowledge of writing has advanced considerably. So again, the choice that you make helps boost certain research going forwards. So we're going to continue. So that's quite nice that we've got that. So there is Beijing. That's this sort of civilization's main area. And if you click on that, you can see some information on this. So we can see all the gossip that we've overheard. So like this, there's nothing in the last 10 turns. We can see what their government is, what their agendas are, whether we've got anything interesting here, all sorts of stuff about them, our relation. So you can see we're neutral at the minute. So we could try and improve that if we wanted. We could send some gold. So delegation there, and you can see there, if accepted, they'll be a bit friendlier towards us, and we'll gain a level of access. Lasts until you gain the diplomatic service one. So I'm going to do that just to show you what happens there. I challenge your delegates to a wrestling match. They will be a bit bruised today. I'm not sure whether that was good or bad, really. So it didn't sound like it was too exciting, was it? So we're still neutral, so that was kind of a bit of a waste. But we had a go. So if you want to come out here, you just hit the cross up here. So we'll say, see ya. Come out of there. Nothing too exciting. And at this early stage, we're not that bothered. We are bothered about where they are, though. So we'll move forward again. So our unit needs orders. So we'll go this way. And the next turn again. Move forward. So I'm hoping we will have this. Let's have a little look at Pella. 2 more turns until we get a settler. So we are taking our time to get the settler, but hopefully we'll be there soon. So we've got a warrior here. We've got another warrior here. But that's Beijing's warrior, so we don't want to fight them. And finally, we've got a settler here, and we can start thinking about where to move them. Now, what I'm interested in, although there's not loads of food and stuff over here, is trying to keep access to these horses. I do have rice here, so this is going to work all right. So I'm going to move over here. What I would normally do is link a unit to protect that unit, but because there's nothing in the area there, I'm just going to move the settler off. But there is an option if you create a warrior as well, where you can link the warrior to this. And you would do that if they were in the same area. There'd be a little button here that would show above them where you can link the units together. So we now got the option of doing other things in Pella. I'm going to get the granary to try and help build, get a bit more food. So I'm going to work on that now. So as I do that, that will help, grow the city more in future, because we're going to have more access to food. So we can always see how the city is doing, but keeping it at 2 means that we're only working 2 tiles, including this one. So we want to grow that a little bit as well. So you've got to kind of balance.
Pigs. Dogs look up to us.
Shush. So it's kind of a balancing act between when you expand and when you don't, because the more workers you've got and the more productive the city is, the more you can produce sort of new buildings and stuff, or have more food or more gold or whatever you choose to work on these on this area. But we also need to add other cities to our civilization, so it's a bit of a balancing act when you do that. So we'll open the technology tree and see what we want to work on next. So you can see, because I did these ones, these are a little easier to research. Now they're only 15 turns rather than 19, but where we met another civilization, we get this boost for that. So this is only 5 turns, so we may as well go with that, because that's going to be nice and quick to do. So I'll pick that one as the boosted one. The unit needs orders again, so again we've got another little city there, so we'll get that. Not a city, a little village. And we've got a builder unit, which is pretty cool, so that's quite handy because they take quite a while to do stuff. The builder unit's automatically applied to the capital city that we've got here, and what we can think about is where to improve here. So it gives you some ideas here. You could improve here with a mine, or improve here with a farm. So I'll go for a... let's go with the... what I want to do is see the yields again, so let's have a little look. There's those yields. So we've got 2 food there. This is only 1 food at the minute and 1 production, but that's similar to that one. It would be as good, I suppose, moving forward. This one, what have we got here? Oops, hang on. Yeah, so we've got 2 and 1 food there. So this would really up the production here. I'm going to go with the farm with this worker. Now, sorry, builder. The builder can only build 3 things, and then the builder is spent. So you want to be using them quite wisely. But what they build is pretty quick. So you can see here, we'll build that. And then we'll get the farm accessed, and that's improved that tile for us. So this unit, we're going to move again. So move down here. And as you probably guessed, yes, you can build cities
Yosemite
on the
Valley
coast.
to me is always a sunrise, a glitter of green and golden wonder in a vast edifice of stone and space.
So we found a natural wonder here, and each natural wonder that you find will give a certain benefit. So we get a little zoom in of that. So we'll just cross that out. Your knowledge of astrology has advanced considerably. So again, a good reason to explore the areas, not only to find resources, but also little boosts like the villages that we saw, and also these natural wonders. And of course, finding other civilizations. So another unit needs orders, so our warrior. So I'm going to go this way. Next. So what we'll probably see now, where the worker has improved that area, let's have a little look at our citizens here and see where it makes sense to work. So you can see this worker's getting 2 and 1 here, which is the same as this. So when we get a 3rd one, or you could argue we should move away from here and put this worker over here. So maybe I'll do that. So now we've got more food coming in than we did have before. And you can see 6 turns until growth. So if we move back here, which way is it? That way. There we go. 11 turns until growth. So we're actually better to move there. So I'm going to do that. Then our builder, we could decide to move elsewhere as well. So we could go with another farm here, or we could go with a mine. I'm going to go with a mine to try and help increase production. So we've got 2 production here at the minute, but when we put a mine in there, it's going to improve that as well. So you can see, because we found the coast here, we can't move our scout across the ocean without a boat. So that's not something we can do at the minute. So of course you're limited until you discover the ability to sail with your sort of research. So it depends on what you've got set up in the game as to how quick you need to do that, how quick you need to get off this continent to find other civilizations. So sometimes it's good to zoom out and see whereabouts everything is. So I think it sort of makes sense to explore up here and just see whether we missed anything sort of near our city here, because we didn't really explore that. So our builder again has at this area, so I'm going to build that mine, and that's now got 3 production, so that's going to help. You know, if we want to produce things faster. So the scout here, we'll go over here as well. But hopefully you're getting a fairly good idea about, you know, how things work. You'll get some news on the bottom right hand side here. So we've got a new city-state quest, trigger a eureka for sailing. So with this city-state here, there's an option there. We've got met a new city-state, so we've got this news here, and a unit is available for promotion. So as our scout has been exploring, they've gained some experience, and you are free to promote them if you want. I think it was it the scout? Let's have a little look. Normally you see a little promote button, but I think it's because they've run out of time, so we'll have to do that on the next turn.
Without craftsmanship, inspiration is a mere reed shaken and...
So because we've got something new here, we could change our productions here. So we've got double experience for recon units. So we've got 50% production towards ancient and classical era melee anti-cavalry and range units. So I'm going to pop that in there. And then we could debate whether we want this changed, but I think that's fine as it is. So we'll say that's all good. So we can choose a civic as well, so we can open the Civics Tree. So because we've completed the craftsmanship, we can debate whether we want to go this way with military tradition, which if I was going for a domination victory might be quite useful. Or we could move this way, so you can see mysticism might be quite nice, but I think we'll need to unlock foreign trade first before we can get to that one. So it's entirely up to you which way you go. So I'm going to look at what does foreign trade do first. For foreign trade, trader, 100%. So we've got a couple of civics there. Nothing too exciting there, but we could create trade routes, which might make a bit of money. Whereas this one, flanking and support combat bonuses to all combat units. So this will give me an advantage in combat. So I'll go with that one. But you get the idea. you know, it's up to you. You want to be thinking about this yourself. So unit needs orders again. So our settler has finally made it to this area to settle. So I'm going to build this one here, found the city. And you've got like this sort of area of control. So as the city grows in culture, this will grow bigger. So at some point, this and this one will sort of be very close to each other. So Pella at some point will probably expand first because it's my capital. But the two are fairly close together, so you can see here. But over time, we'll be able to make use of the horses in the area. So you can see that outside the area of this one at the minute. But when that expands, we'll have access to that one. So I'm not too bothered. I don't really need horses at the minute. So we get some recommendations here. So we can go with another scout or a warrior. I'm going to build a warrior to defend that unit. And when we go here, the builder, we can move to other areas to improve. So it's suggesting maybe over here now we could build a farm and increase the food production there as well. So you probably get the point about here. I should cover a few other little bits just before we finish up, so I don't really want to go over 40 minutes for this. This tells you what you're getting per turn for your science, which is going to improve this thing. So your tech tree, so the more science you have, the better. The culture, how much culture we're getting from the cities. You can see we're getting it mostly from Pella at the minute because Pidna has only just been built. And faith, so this is if we want to go with the religion. So these sort of go with those original ideas where you could be the top of science to win, or the top of culture. You could start building out with the culture here, or faith if you wanted to build religion. And this, you'll see how these affect towards these different things down here. This is how much money we're making, and we can also spend gold on things to rush production of things. We've got tourism, so whether we get anyone visiting our city, so the more culture you have, the better that is. We can see our sort of different leaders over here, so we can click on these. So there's us, Alexander, but the only other one we've discovered so far is the Chinese Empire. We can see the world rankings. So we can see there's an unmet player who's leading, so we're not doing the best at the minute. There's someone who's doing better than us. And we can see a list of reports here that shows the yields, resources, gossip, all those sort of things as well. So you got all of that. This was the thing that we saw. We've got the next turn here. The map also has some other controls that you might find useful. You've got the toggle strategy view where you can see things in a different view here. So we can turn the yield icons on and off, or the resource icons like you see here, or the grid if you find that easier, and you can toggle that on or off as we see here. We can go with a full screen map like we see here, and if you want to get rid of that, you go here. You've also got the ability to search the map for something in particular, so like tribal villages if you've missed some, or whether you want to find a particular place, but I don't really need to do any of that. We can add text to the map and all sorts of stuff here, but I don't want to bore you too much with that. The last thing that I want to talk about are just up here. So we've got the Civilopedia. So if you want to know specifics about something to do with the game, this help system is really cool. You can either search it manually here, or you can go all through these different things. So you can see the leaders, the city-states, the districts, the buildings. So if you wanted to know, for example, a bit about one of the buildings, you could go here, the wonders projects, the units. So if we have a little look at, say, a land combat units, and I want to know about the archer, this will tell me a little bit about it. The historical context about that particular one, and also how much they take to produce, what their range is, what their movement points are, all those sort of things. So the Civilopedia is really, really useful. The last thing we want to talk about is the game menu. And one of the things you can do here, you can save the game, but if you mess up, you can also load a game here. And if you click on auto saves, this shows you the past so many moves. So if you make an error, you can go back to a previous step and go and kind of not lose your options. You can also change some of your options, like your graphics and your audio and all sorts of things like that. And you can also go back to the main menu or exit to your desktop here. But hopefully that's given you a good solid idea, beginner's guide to Civilization 6. I appreciate we're now 2024, but I thought I would have a crack at it. So hopefully that's of use. And remember, if you haven't got the game already, have a little look on that link in the description to go to CD Keys, because like I say, it's a great price at the minute and a great game. I hope that was useful to you. If it was, thumbs up please, much appreciated. If you need more help with the game, let me know with what. I'll do my best to help with future videos. Thanks.